That is why they are so fervent. TV with your host, Jeff Charles.
Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
Hello and welcome to Right On, where we tackle the issues of the day from the right perspective. Elon Musk caused a cyber earthquake when he dropped the first installment of the Twitter Files. Conservatives were vindicated and the left was, well, incensed. The activist media has already gone into full spin mode, but Musk is only getting started, which has many wondering, how deep will this particular rabbit hole go? Well, I have with me Liberty Nation's economics correspondent Andrew Moran to discuss this matter, since he is also a member of the Twitterati, like your favorite host, Jeff Charles, myself. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, but I'm not a checkmark luminary like yourself. And also, congratulations on the new show. I'm glad I'm the first guest.
Yes, I'm glad too. And you should have paid that $8 when you had the chance. Now you got to wait until he opens it up again. So why don't you, to start with, why don't you kind of just give us an overview of what the Twitter Files contained?
Well, I think there were a few things in just part one. Again, remember, this is just part one, more coming out in the coming days. So I think the first was that I found interesting was that both the Biden and Trump campaigns had requested Twitter to take down certain tweets or remove certain accounts, but which is not surprising, the content moderation team only acquiesced to the Biden request. And there was one executive who emailed another executive and said that more to review from the Biden team, as I guess this was a common procedure at the time. The second was that there was no basis at all to block the New York Post article. This was actually noted by a couple of higher ups of the company. One of them was Twitter communications official Trenton Kennedy, and then the then vice president of global communications, Brandon Borman. They had no clue why the article was being taken down, and one of them even said, "Oh, is there any? Can we use any truth to back up this claim that it should be taken down?" So I thought that was interesting. And then the final one was that Democratic lawmakers, except for the Ro Khanna, who's a a Democratic congressman from California, who really should be commended for warning against blocking the transmission of the article, the Democratic lawmakers said that the First Amendment was not absolute and that they wanted even more moderation from the Twitter staff. So this was part one. Second part's coming out soon, which I'm sure will be even more juicy tidbits of the suppression of that article over at Twitter.
Yeah, we're definitely in for some exciting times at Twitter. Yeah. But I want to go back to the first thing you mentioned with this, because I thought this was very interesting too and very telling. This was not a clear-cut decision behind the scenes. There were plenty of employees who were concerned about this. So this wasn't like everybody was of one accord here, but there were people who were kind of pushing back. And you did mention Democratic Representative Ro Khanna, who is, by the way, a member of the Progressive Caucus. So he's far to the left, and he was concerned about this. But I think that even vindicates what conservatives were saying even more, because even people within the company expressed doubts about suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story.
I think it also lends credence to Elon Musk's argument that there were too many cooks in the kitchen at Twitter, which is why he fired so many executives and let go half the company, when there was so much conflict between the communication staff, the content moderation team, and many of the executives. So I think paring down the number of people working at Twitter is probably going to serve the company better in the future.
Mm-hmm. Now, how are you seeing, as far as the left, how are you seeing them responding to these revelations?
Well, I think it was pretty easy to see how the left would respond to this.
You didn't need a crystal ball for it.
Most leftists, they've either downplaying the whole story or just ignoring it altogether. But I think one of the most fascinating responses it shows the hive mind like of how the left leaning personalities behave and how they're using the same rhetoric, mostly targeting Matt Taibbi, and they're saying that, quote, he's doing PR for the world's richest man, and that he's a lackey and all that, which is just complete nonsense, considering he was a celebrated journalist before just calling out the insanity on the left. So I think it's mostly just the left try to convince everyone that this was a nothing burger, but so far, from based on reaction on many people on Twitter, they disagree with that conclusion.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about them going after Matt Taibbi? Matt Taibbi is not a conservative.
No,
he's not right-leaning. He is on the left. But they've gone after him before because he is a vocal critic of a lot of what's happening on the left, just like he criticizes the right. But, I didn't realize that Musk was going to give this to Taibbi. So when he announced it, I thought he was going to do it himself. When I saw that Matt Taibbi was releasing it, I was like, that makes sense.
Smart move, yeah.
Yeah, you better get him some security too.
Matt Taibbi, who's actually he was participated in a Monk debate recently, and his whole idea was don't trust the mainstream media for anything. Don't listen to them. Look the data yourself. Look for all other alternative reports. Don't trust the New York Times. Don't trust USA Today. Don't trust anybody. And that's a model that everyone should just live by, except for Liberty Nation, of course. Everyone should just trust and listen.
Oh, of course,
especially Right On with Jeff Charles.
Yeah, I mean, if Matt Taibbi knew about Liberty Nation, I have no doubt he would say that we are the only outlet that they should trust. But it's funny because he was a part of this whole intelligentsia, so it's interesting to see him move away from it. But I want to take a step back. I mean, because there are these revelations. We know there's going to be more. We don't know how many installments there will be, but how do you see this fitting into Elon Musk's overall vision for the platform now that he's taken over?
Well, if you go by based on what he said publicly and what he's written and his legal team have written in SEC documents, it's pretty much to make Twitter its original mandate of being a free speech platform, the quote de facto public town square, marketplace of ideas. He wants to restore public trust and transparency in the website, and I think this was just part of this whole broader initiative on the part of Elon Musk. By releasing all this internal information that occurred, that really affected the 2020 election based on many of the polls where people said, oh, if I knew about this whole Hunter Biden thing, it would have changed my vote. I think it sends the message that the previous regime was all about censorship and limiting what you can see, and that the new leadership led by Musk is about transparency, just debating ideas and reporting on something that, quote, equally offends the far left and the far right, which has been Elon Musk's goal from the very beginning of buying Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, he's even made comments about offending people on both sides, and from where he sits, that's the right way to go about it. But one of the things that I noticed is once he took over, the left really started attacking Twitter by going after their advertisers. I remember there was some prominent Washington outlets that published pieces about how to limit your ads and, go to Mastodon, another social media platform. But it looks like advertisers are starting to come back, namely Apple, which was a huge move when they paused their advertising. Now they've come back. Why do you think this is happening?
Well, I'm not sure about if more advertisers are coming back. I haven't seen data to support that, but Elon Musk, he did say that Apple has fully restored its advertising practices. But I think it's clear that many advertisers, they want to appear woke, but they don't want to, hit the bee's nest. I think that's the phrase that you Americans say. But they're hesitant about, of advertising on a platform because they don't want to offend the vocal minority who think everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything offends the LGBT community. So I think overall they're just probably waiting for the eye of the storm to pass and then gradually go back to the platform because they want to advertise where the eyeballs are. So if Elon Musk is reporting the truth that user growth is up, engagement rates are up, then they're going to go back to Twitter and try to advertise at a greater level. Of course, Twitter, they're also probably fearful that their tweets will appear alongside something that's deemed hateful. But according to Elon Musk, hate speech and all that type of content is on the decline ever since I think after that first initial crazy week, everything normalized and stabilized on the platform, which I think if you're a regular user as you are and I am, you've seen that yourself.
Yes, I have seen it, and I'm on Twitter all the time. It's my main addiction.
I know that.
Yes, yeah. The users have gone up, so it would seem almost crazy to stop advertising on the platform when you've got even more eyes. And Elon Musk has indicated that incidents of hate speech have gone down despite what the activist media was saying. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but ever since he made that announcement on that day, I believe it was last Friday, I had my tweet deck up. And so I can see everything that's coming across. Once he made that announcement, I noticed that all of these outlets, because I have them all on their own column, they started tweeting out stories of hate speech on Twitter, increasing on Twitter, all this negative Twitter stuff, New York Times and a bunch of others. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I see what's going on here. But here's my last question. Now that he's dropped this and he's going to drop more, what other types of resistance do you think is going to, or what type of resistance should we expect to see going forward?
Well, I think it's more of what you've seen in the last couple of weeks. There was you mentioned that New York Times article that claimed hate speech was on the rise substantial website, but there's other ridiculous examples of how they're trying to either undermine Elon Musk, shed him in a negative light, or try to take down Twitter. There's a recent story in a certain Washington newspaper, and they try to tie in Trump, Musk, and other folks who violate the 3x5 cardinal level opinion because they drink Diet Coke. Because Trump drinks Diet Coke. Elon Musk, he posted a tweet of how he had 6 Diet Coke cans next to his bed. So I think overall, that's what they're going to try to do. So ultimately, it's going to be about negative coverage, proclaiming that Twitter is dead or that it's full of hateful people, yada, 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 even though the proof shows that user growth is up and engagement is up. So I think that's the type of resistance you can do. Maybe some people go as far as try to hack into the website and take it down. But, we'll see. 2023 should be definitely an interesting year for Twitter.
Yes, definitely. And I do appreciate that Tom Woods index card reference.
Yes, thank you. Finally, somebody gets it on Liberty Nation.
I got it. So, yeah, and I do expect that as well. But, I mean, if Diet Coke is the worst they have against them, then it might be looking good for people who value speech on the platform. But I'm sure you and I will be keeping a very close eye on this. Thank you for coming to Right On.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be your first guest.
Me too. And remember, the show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news and analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Just go to LibertyNation.com on your browser or hit Rumble, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Jeff Charles. Thank you so much for watching. This program is a production of LibertyNation.com, where truth is making a comeback.
Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5.
That is why they are so fervent. TV with your host, Jeff Charles.
Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.